Hello, everyone. My name is Noir, as you all know me. Today, we are here with the Kanto Power Rankings. Joining me is fellow Kanto coach Sean.
Hello.
We have another Kanto coach, Frubblez,
Hey,
and we have a previous Jodo coach from last season who made finals, BigRedBlue.
What's up?
So the way we worked this out is originally we were gonna make our own individual rankings and then make out an average, but we decided that it was better to just discuss the teams and made a ranking, like everyone agreeing on the same ranking, because it was just too hard. And yeah, we gonna be showing the teams from last to first. So basically, gonna be starting out with the team ranked at 16, and we're gonna be going from there. So yeah, you can start it. So the team at 16 is the Leicester Lycanrocks, coached by Etesian. Hope I pronounced that right. And what are your guys' thoughts on this team?
well, I think I actually might be Leicester. Anyway, about this team, I feel like Mew carries the team a little bit hard in terms of its offensive pressure, in terms of its hazards, in terms of what it can hit. Mew kind of just like focused, and not a lot of it. I feel like supports the Mew well.
Yeah, what I would say is it's kind of a thing where this team's defenses are lacking. The offenses are pretty okay, but the defenses are really lacking. And that's always going to come down to Mew to fix. And I would also say, similarly, like the hazard removal is almost non existent, and the hazard setting is also kind of lacking. So it's like all the problems this team has, it's going to come down to Mew to fix, unfortunately.
And I'll say there's a very noticeable water weakness. You don't really have a lot of any good water switch-ins really, and I mean the speed tiers are pretty good. They kind of hold up, but that's one glaring weakness.
He's got to go Silverly for a water resist.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the water weakness thing.
he's gotta be
Basically,
like Rats
Inteleon
water.
is your only resist, which is not the best. I won't be surprised if I see Silvally coming into cover that water weakness on maybe Silvally Dragon or something like that. Silvally Water, because yeah, just any powerful water type could break this team apart.
Yeah, I feel like this team kind of tries to be a jack of all trades, but it's not even great at that.
Yeah, it's not. What I would say is it's not lackluster offensively. Certainly, if you have things like Netapine and Rotom Heat and Lycanroc that can really threaten teams. Inteleon's also fine for that. You've got Grimmsnarl to bring screen support, so you could try set up with Nasty Plot Rotom, whatever Celesteela does, Muse thing, obviously. But aside from that route, it'll be tricky, I think, for them.
Yeah, it has good support, but the offensive options, again, Mew is the main offensive mon here, and Nidoqueen is your only real hazard setter, because Mew is probably going to have to be offensive on most weeks in order to, break things apart, and Lycanroc also being a very offensive and frail mon, not a reliable hazard setter, so it's pretty much up to Nidoqueen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the times you do want to go with Mew as a hazard setter, you might find you lack a little offense.
Or defense, even if he's going to try that, yeah. Though I wouldn't
Absolutely.
recommend that.
Yeah,
Does anyone have any other thoughts?
I was just going to say that I could see Celesteela, offensive Celesteela and Sword Stencil Valley coming a lot, in case in case you don't want Mew to do all the work.
Yeah, and you
can that could also be a thing.
Pave the way for that with screens from Grimmsnarl too, so that makes those better.
Yeah,
and having said that, some of the individual mods are good, definitely.
Lycanroc Dust can just Sword Stance at the wrong time and kill your whole team, which is always fun. So there's that.
Oh yeah,
that's true. People do sleep on it, and it's actually very good.
I just think don't have a good rock resist.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, I think if we can move on to the next team, So the Least or the Least I'm so bad at pronouncing team names. My bad. So this team is coached by Stefan. And so yeah, what do you guys think about this team?
I think its biggest strength is its hazard setting. I mean, like it has Deoxyspeed, it has Scolipede, it has Komodo, and Employment are all amazing hazard setters. And I think they can also remove it well with just the Empoleon Zapdos core. And that's the biggest strength.
And you've got Magic Bounce too.
Absolutely.
It's very good on hazard, certainly.
I'll say I'm not really sold on a lot of the lower tier mods like Mega Bayonet, Torterra, Wishy Washy, and Hatterene can sometimes be hard to play as well as Scolipede. I will say though, I saw one of Stefan's replays or something, and his top 6 came, and they're going to be really reliable, I think.
Yeah, from Scolipede, I feel like from Scolipede down, the mods are not the most reliable. Like pretty much matchup dependent or very hard to use. Also, I was thinking that it doesn't have much immediate offense. It's pretty much just Darmanitan, because like Deoxys tends to, set up in order to hit hard enough. Same thing with Como and Scolipede. So yeah, it's like kind of lacking there. It's one of the first things that I thought about.
Definitely, your options are very limited.
It does have a lot of like a lot of hazard options, and hazard removal is pretty solid too. Like it's not bad, but yeah, I just think the first 6 mods are pretty much the most reliable ones here. The others being like really hard to use, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and what I
The
also
other thing
don't
like
love
that's
is
kind of glaring is that like. Okay,
Sorry, go
no worries. I was just going to say that you might find that you need to bring Zapdos and Umbreon a lot for defensive purposes because there's kind of like a little bit of a ground weakness, a little bit of a flying weakness, and a little bit of a ghost weakness.
Another one I would mention too is
Yeah,
what
especially I think ground, since it's pretty much mostly Zapdos covering that. Had trouble switching to ground moves.
Could you say that again? I think it might have cut out for a second for me, so it may have not recorded.
Yeah, I just said that a lot of these mons may have trouble switching into ground moves, since Zapdos is really your most reliable answer.
Oh, definitely. And
one thing I will say. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that's worth looking at too is like electric, like a good like unless you're bringing Torterra, like a good electric with Volt Switch, like a Raikou or like Zera or whatever can really just have a good time here. So you're kind of forced to bring Torterra sometimes, which doesn't seem great because otherwise they're going to get a lot of nice momentum with Volt Switch.
That's true. Another thing I was gonna say, one thing I will say about this team is that making the wrong call can make you instantly lose the match. Because even if it doesn't have the best defensive switches to some stuff, like you could literally just lose the game to Deoxyspeed or Como or like Scolipede. Like it definitely has some threats, and you gotta be careful in playing against this team.
Definitely.
I could also see some like trick room stuff with like Hatterene and Mega Bayonet, because if you can get Mega Bayonet to actually get damage off, it's really strong.
Yeah, if you can hit the Shadow Claw, certainly.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what we have to say about the Least Ledians.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so number 14, we have the Gainesville Gardevoir, coached by Psycho. All right, so this team, we had some tough discussion about it. We took a bit of time trying to place it correctly. And I will start by saying that I think the offensive mods, especially that trio going on there between Mawels, are like really strong. But I'm not a big fan of the defensive mons, especially they have a really hard time switching into ground types, especially something like a Lander's Therian. I feel like could break this team apart with Executor Alola being weak to U-turn or just not being the most reliable. And Moltres, all ground types get like some sort of rock coverage. So yeah, it's pretty much that.
Yeah, your options for ground
Yeah.
are either Forretress or Sandaconda, assuming it's like a physical thing, and it's not
Yeah.
great.
Like Garchomp,
Right.
Landorus Theory, and Landorus Incarnate, they both look pretty scary.
And at the same time, their fighting resists aren't amazing either. Slowking is pretty solid, but a lot of fighting have knockoff coverage, and same thing with Moltres, Rock Moose. So at least Flame Body can at least stop people from just spamming close combat.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the things I do like about the team, I would say that Mega Mall is obviously a behemoth on offense. Zeraor and Greninja together, I really like. Gives you like covers the full range of like high speed tiers, and then you've got like just a lot of good pivots that could bring that stuff in, like Slowking and Moltres, who can be pretty nice with U-turn.
For
So
sure.
that's nice at least.
Not to mention, this does have a Trick Room mode with Iglo and Executor and Slowking. So that could be
Oh, and
interesting.
Drampa too, yeah, definitely. Mawile, certainly.
And the hazard setting looks pretty strong to me as well. You have a
Yeah,
lot of options when it comes to
Yeah, it is pretty
hazards.
strong.
Removal's a little iffy because you've got Forretress with Rapid Spin and then Moltres Defog, which is fine until you get knocked off. But it could be worse, certainly. That's not untenable. Does Drampa get Defog? Am I imagining that? I don't know.
Drampa does get Defog.
Okay, so it's a little. You might see Drampa Defog once or twice, certainly. Take the pressure off Moltres.
Yeah, I just think it's like easy to punish the defensive mons here.
Definitely, it's very
Like
susceptible to U-turn.
Fortress, Moltres are like can be like super punishable. Also, yeah, like U-turn on like things like knockoff U-turn on stuff like Slowking Galar.
It's gonna be. I think you're gonna be running a lot of Rocky helmets.
I feel like this team is going to need to out offense to win because its defensive backbone isn't quite enough to do that.
I would agree with that.
Agreed.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. We've got the Floroma Femboys from Linus.
You can start this one, Sean, since this is your favorite team.
Sean really likes this team.
I'll be frank. I'm not going to mince words here. Now, yeah, it's really fat. It's like a fat team, and that's good. It's not that fast was one of the main criticisms levied against it, and that is certainly fair. Manshao with 105 being your fastest thing isn't anything to brag about, but one of the things that we noted was that Entei has extreme speed, right? And Scissor has Bullet Punch, so you can get around with that a little bit with such good priority, and to a lesser extent, Gorgeous the Shadow Sneak. But it's just a really bulky team. This is not going to be an easy team to break. And it has a lot of power behind it, too, with things like Kyurem Black, Entei, Scizor. Toxtricity carries a lot of the burden for being a special attacker, but Toxtricity is a really good Pokemon, so there's no complaints there from me.
Yeah, kind of like the breaking point for what made this team better than the others is that Toxtricity is there. And not only is it a special attacker, but it's one of the best special wall breakers just because of that boom.
Toxtricity is just so good. Like, the special attack in this team is low, but Toxtricity is there, like Sean said. So it's like, I feel like it's definitely going to come in handy for both matches in order to just break teams apart. Considering this team, it really needs it because it's so passive.
And also, I think... Go ahead.
You can go, Frubblez.
Oh, I think another underrated thing is Specs Kyurem Black because it's only a little bit weaker than regular Kyurem, and we know it's Kyurem.
That's people forget that when they talk about Kyurem Black, where it's like it's got 120 special attack. It can be a special attacker if you want it to be. It's got Earth Power. It's got Ice Beam. Like that's all you need for most teams. But then there's some other stuff too. Like
I was gonna say my worry for this one is that like the flying weakness is pretty glaring with Toxtricity being your only flying.
That's not great.
A lot of the defensive mons they play kind of passively, so you might be able to be a little susceptible to getting set up on or taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, at least he has no shortage for taunt users at the very least.
True.
That's true. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to rely for flying moves. You're probably gonna have to rely on taking hits neutrally with stuff like Deoxys fence or maybe
like
Mandibas.
a Tornadus Therian would be rough for this, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe like if Linus had a faster mod instead of something like Gorgeist or something that would cover up
something like
one of the teams.
Or Skeptile.
Yeah, maybe Sceptile or something. Like people wouldn't look up so much as at the speed, which is the main weakness in this team. I feel like, but aside from the speed, I honestly like the team. I feel like it's pretty good. It has potential, and I can see it doing well.
Definitely, this is one of my favorites. Even if we put it down this low, it just lets you know how good the teams were overall. All right, gonna move to the next one, which is the Kinky Kartanas from the esteemed Noir.
Oh, looky here.
Noir, do you want to just start and talk about your process drafting it?
Oh, you want me to start? All right. So, I wanted to take Samazenta. Yeah, I already knew that today I have workup and how, which is the main thing that everybody tells me about. But I feel like I wanted to build around it pretty well. This team I actually knew exactly what I was drafting because I got inspired from another coach from another league. Shout out to Luffy. And it was pretty much the similar team, except I changed some stuff, like got another dark type, and I feel like I needed setup, so I got Volcarona, considering I had a lot of leftover points. And yeah, I just feel like Mega Pidgeot and Samacenta together are a really good duo, considering like Samacenta beats almost everything that Mega Pidgeot, everything like checks Mega Pidgeot, like raw types and steel types. And it has Slowbro, which is, Slowbro, Audino, the Regen Core, which together can be really tough to break. Probably going to be the main defensive mons. And yeah, it's definitely not one of the scariest teams. I think I had it on I think I ranked it myself like 12-2. But it does have the low tier picks, like Persian, like Draudigon might be, the not the best picks. But I feel like I kind of like the team, even though I know it's definitely not one of the strongest looking teams in Kanto.
I would say there's nothing too bad here, which I like, is that there's not really a bad Pokemon. I would say they all have pretty good arguments for coming maybe in a given week. And yeah, again, I don't think there's any like glaring problem. I don't really look at this team and that think like, oh, there's some big issue. I think it is just kind of like you said, it's kind of a matter of the competition and what else is going on. But I like Zamazenta, I like the grassy terrain with it to kind of get the recovery to bolster those defensive cores more. And then it's no slouch on offense either with things like Nidoking, right? So a lot of good qualities.
Yeah.
I would say this team doesn't really have a good Hurricane switching, but that's kind of it. Because
Rotom's not going to work.
Yeah, Zamazenta can switch.
I'll also mention that like the setting hazards and hazard removal isn't always the most reliable, because you might have to run like a more utility bulk or something to actually remove hazards better.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's an awkward choice of who's going to be the defogger, because it's like Mega Pidgeot, Volcarona, or Rotom. I don't know if them love that.
Yeah,
and with the rocker,
all the removal is pretty much offensive mons that might not come. So
and like
there's definitely
Nidoking kind of has the same thing when it comes to hazard. Like sometimes you just won't want to run hazards on Nidoking.
Druddigon can hopefully be the backup there sometimes, where Druddigon can do the rocks, but it's pretty limited choice between Druddigon and Nidoking, certainly.
Yeah.
I also think that obviously like having Audino as a wish passer is like really good.
Yeah, Audino's great.
Especially with Samacenta, since it's a mon that with healing it can be pretty annoying to take down.
Definitely.
And yeah, it's pretty. Nidoking definitely has to, like, Samacenta and Pidgeot are the two mons that stand out the most, being like very fast and strong. And I feel like with Nidoking and Bulu also being there in the back for extra offensive options is also really good. I feel like they're probably gonna put in a lot of work to help like chip down stuff, or maybe like cure Mega Pidgeot to like clean up with Hurricane or Samazenta, since it literally needs the support, since it doesn't have setup.
Definitely. I guess does anybody else have anything to say, or?
We can move on. I
Yeah.
think.
All right, next
Unless
up
someone
we
else has
have-
anything else.
Oh
look, we have
boy, it's
Sean.
the Norwalk nose patch from mysterious Sean person.
Wow.
Who's that guy?
I hope I don't face this team.
It's a different Sean. Don't worry
in
about
this
it.
season.
So Sean, you
think,
can do the
I
same
think,
thing.
yeah, I did the same thing Noir did. I think my team good. But I'll open the floor to questions at this point. No, I just went really bulky, right? I did like a bunch of I got a very cancerous regen core with looking and Tangrowth.
I feel like we can all see why Sean really like Linus team.
Yeah, there's overlap certainly.
Something
right?
about those fat teams.
I like fat Pokemon like Sylveon and Slowking that can deal damage. So it's like if you're fat and you can deal damage, that's most of what a good draft team is for me at least. But then to really bolster the offense, right? I went for Urshifu single strike. That's where most of the offensive pressure is going to be coming from. I thought Mega Absol is a good choice for a Mega to round out the speed tiers more, and also if people are running weird things like Rocky Helmet to try or a Culver Berry to try to deal with Urshifu, then Absol can kind of fish those out and get rid of them. The lower tier picks are not my favorite, even I would say. Corsola Galar is just kind of like a B blanket check to more physical things. Mantine kind of trying to get more special bulk, give the team some sort of bulky water type. Frostmoth is I was supposed to get Kangaskhan, somebody took it, and I got really mad. So I was like, I'm just taking Frostmoth, whatever, I'll work it out later. Yes, that's a team. It's a team,
It is a team.
Fair enough.
I just like the last team. We also have double regen here, which can be very hard to break. And I was gonna say that I really like the Mega Absol and Flygon pick in this team because the main focus when prepping against this team will be handling Urshifu. But Flygon and Absol are like not too expensive picks that can if you're not careful enough, they can like sweep you or do decent amount of damage with stuff like Swords Dance or Dragon Dance. And Mega Absol also, considering the team is like already pretty slow, Mega Absol, just boosts the speed up by a little, which makes the team better, I think. So I like Mega Absol here.
Definitely. I was just gonna say I kind of agree with you, John. I wasn't really sold on your low tiers. There's a couple like major weaknesses to like flying and rock, but they're gonna be manageable because a lot of your mons are just really fat. And then, like you said, like some of the offense, especially like immediate offense, is a little lacking, but it should be workable.
Yeah.
I will say I was surprised. This is a little off topic. A lot of people asked me to trade for Rotom Frost, so I would say that was one of the low tier, and that's funny too because that was like the one low tier I actually wanted to hold on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hope he'll be able to do something. Otherwise, I probably should have traded him.
Rotom Frost is really good. It's a Bolt Beam stab and immune to ground.
Yeah, it's nice to have.
I just get sketched relying on Blizzard, man.
Yeah, Blizzard is rough. Like a lot of times, it's the implicit threat. Like when I was fighting Noir, this is the last time I'll get into like league specific things. I swear, where it was like you kind of had he like just switched his Bulu out of the Blizzard, which is good because then I don't have to worry about the Blizzard actually hitting, and you gotta kind of hope you're just threat. The threat is enough sometimes.
It's funny how you still miss. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta hope the threat's enough.
Oh, one last thing I was gonna say is that kind of similar to my team, the hazard removal also kind of depends on the low tier picks.
Yeah, it's really just what you've got: Rotom, Mantine, Flygon.
Yeah, it's like Mantine, Rotom, and Flygon, which I feel like on most cases you don't want it to be defensive here since you already have a lot of defensive mons.
But at least Mega Absol can deter some, and you can make some like
that early.
Yeah. At least the magic balance is there.
The other thing I was gonna say is you might struggle with faster sweepers, like especially over base 100.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a Scarf Chomp can outspeed this entire team, but honestly, no one should even be running a Choice Scarf Pokemon against
It
this
wouldn't
team.
make sense, generally speaking. No.
Yeah.
You'd have
Or
to
like a
really,
Mega
you'd have
Gallade
to
or
really
something
hate
could be
Absol.
really tough.
You'd have to hate Absol.
Like Mega Gallade, Mega Diancie, something like that could be tough.
Definitely.
But I mean, those are tough all the time. So
It's true.
Yeah, Mega Diancie is kind of stupid.
Mega
Force
Diancie
out.
doesn't really
Yeah.
have checks or counters or things like that. You just kind of do what you can.
Yeah, I think we can move on. No one else
Alright.
has something to say.
Sounds good. Next up, we have
I
the New
just feel
Jersey
like
Dwebbles from
New Jersey
Frubblez.
Dwebble. So I swear this wasn't on purpose for everyone watching. The three Kanto coaches doing PRs are by coincidence. We're all next to each other on the ranking.
To
Just
be fair, they're
realized.
all bad. The teams are all
Whoa.
relative.
Whoa there.
comparative.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I put myself in. Well, let's just say higher. Let's just say I
I
wasn't
put
honest.
myself at third. Anyway, so honestly, when I started out drafting, like I woke up and I found out I had to draft. I'm like, what the heck? And I was like, I want Hydreigon. And I'm like, wait a second, Hydreigon's a bad first pick.
Sure is.
Let me think
That's
of
like
something.
50 points. You have 20
Solid
points.
second
Right?
pick. Bad first pick.
Let me think. And I took 2 hours, and I'm like, aha, Mega Diancie works with Hydreigon. And then I built around Hydreigon because I like Hydreigon.
Yeah.
So Hydreigon plus Aegislash is a dummy core that resists every single type in the game. I really like that. Also, the Fairy Dragon Steel Core together kind of destroys. I am lacking a fair bit of reliable recovery. I have Crobat and Hydreigon Roost, but like other than that, it's mostly like temporary walls to check. So the main point of this team will often be to like pivot around and out offense the opposing team. I also say my hazards are very iffy. I have Wigglytuff. Donphan is good. Donphan is good.
Yeah,
And then Mega
Donphan's solid.
Diancie
Donphan's solid, but
Mega
Mega
Diancie
Diancie's not going to work, yeah.
is a good hazard setter, but you
That's one
often
where
want to run other moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
You almost
needs
never
4
like actually
usually.
want to run Elbrox.
Because you want 3 attacks usually, and then the Calm Mind or Sub is usually very tempting. Yeah.
So
I
like
think
when I looked at this team,
yeah.
like there was I'll go. There wasn't any like glaring type weakness or anything, but a lot of the lower tier picks, I'm not sure how reliable they'll be. And with not having a lot of recovery, having like a more reliable cleric might have been a little better. Aside from that, that's all I had.
I like the hazard removal on here. This is probably the best prep team we've talked about
Yeah.
for hazards, where you've got Hydreigon Defog, Crobat Defog, 2 Rapid Spinners who are good, and then you've got like Magic Bounce. Like you're not going to be worrying about that too much.
Yeah, you have 2 defoggers and 2 spinners that are pretty good.
Yeah, it's the setter part which is weaker, like we talk about, but at least Donphan's very good. So just shooting out rocks.
I think the main, like the best part of this team, which stands out, is obviously the incredible Fairy Dragon Steel Core.
It's pretty good.
It's like probably one of the best like consecutive picks in
I
out of all
really
the
like
drafts.
him a lot.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think 2 water types is good here too. For all the main Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Maybe something like a Greninja could kind of be threatening to it with like, that coverage, but then you've got both Arachnid and Blastoise who could be pretty good backup on that.
I think my low tiers are solid. I think Boltun's kind of bad, but other than Boltund, I guess I don't really have that many low tiers, come to think of it, because I have a lot of mid tiers, like Blastoise, Delphox, Breloom are kind of, I guess Delphox is a low tier, but I really like Delphox here.
Delphox isn't bad.
Delphox is going to put some work. And I also have the webs option, and this team becomes so much scarier when webs are up.
Definitely, especially Diancie.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like Bolton is not the strongest mod, but I like it here because it fills up a nice speed tier gap.
Yeah, that's what Bolton does. It does mostly that.
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
they, if their ground type's kind of weird, it can work, but otherwise.
But yeah, I agree with BigRedBlue. Like the low tier picks, I feel like they're gonna have to come in a lot for defensive support. I don't know if they'll always be reliable, but if they are, then this team can be a threat, especially with those three in
sure.
front with Degancia, Hydreigon, and Aegislash.
Definitely.
And yeah, the removals some of the best,
Okay.
like stuff like
Very good
Blastoise
removal.
flip turning
Definitely.
with like Rapid Spin, just going into like Degancia, pretty much like breaking everything.
Yeah. Was there anything else to say?
I think we're good.
All right, I feel like we covered that one pretty well. All right, so next up we have the Miami Delphox from Fact Luigi.
Fact Luigi. All
Champion
right,
of
so
last
this team,
Kanto division, I think. Last
Yeah.
season.
champion, double champion, 2 times champion.
Double champion.
Yeah. So, Fact Luigi, I'm gonna start by saying that he drafted Mega Pinsir again. Pretty scary mod. Enhance of Fact Luigi. We know. I'm excited to see how it's gonna perform. This team, the first thing that I thought about was that literally every mod is good. Like any mod can come, pretty much. Like there's not an iffy low tier. Like you could make a case about Garbor, the worst one, but I still think that every mon is good. Darkrai, Victini, Mega Pinsir like provide some very powerful offensive threats, and it's combined like pretty nicely with like Registeel, Feeny, Motso, Type Null, like in the back, all of them which are really hard to break. The only noticeable weakness that I found in this team was ground, which is pretty much just Serena, which is not bad, but it pretty much it all comes down to Serena, or maybe just taking neutral hits with Mudsill if you can do that. Because Mega Pinsir,
Maybe you want to switch to the Pinsir. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to switch into Pinsir, and I just feel like this team has. It would have been nice to have a grounding, because I feel like Pinsir it's not really a ground immunity. So yeah, that's the only thing. Aside from that, I really like this. It's like very scary, and yeah, every mon can come pretty much.
Yeah.
I did just face this one, and I gotta say, Darkrai, even without special attacking boosting moves, is insane. And that Firewater Grass core, I think, is also just amazing. It's bulky, but it's also got power behind it. It's like extremely versatile.
Absolutely.
And 2 of them can U-turn, so that's always fun.
For sure. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. One little weakness I thought about was that the removal options aren't the greatest. Like one of them is Feeny, and a lot of times you don't want to run Defog. Rapid Spin Serena is pretty good, but that's going to be matchup dependent. Serena might come a lot more with the ground weakness here, but aside from that, it's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I don't mind the removal too much, just because Zarina and Finny are about as good as it gets. I'd say if anything, it's just that there's only those two. It's kind of the problem, but
Yeah,
it's not terrible. I'll take it.
But with
Yeah.
Garbodor, this team can easily hazard stack to force removal.
The removal
definitely.
also,
He can
I don't
lay
know if
down,
it's too much of a problem. I don't know if it's too much of a problem, but it's like the only removal options are like grounded, which I don't know if you want to run something like Boots on Feeny and Serena, so it might be tough for this team to like handle something like spikes. Pretty much like get chipped, like pretty sure you're gonna get chipped.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Overall, it's a good team. I think
you
they're
have
just a
options.
victim of the other ones being a little
No,
more.
yeah, it's a really good team.
And like you could like Victini will run Boots a lot, and like a lot of these other mons can run Boots as well. So it might not be a huge
Boots
deal.
can cover a lot of problems if you don't need other items. Certainly.
Yeah, excited to see Luigi again.
Yeah, they're
if he
probably
makes
going to win
finals
anyway.
again, then yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what we say here. This doesn't matter. None of this matters. All right, so we're good for
All right,
fact
so
You guys
movies?
next
want to move
team.
on?
All right.
All right.
All right, next up we have Thunderous from Down Underus from Sparky.
This team. Talk about an offensive team, huh? Cinderace with Rillaboom is a funny but very powerful first two picks. Kyurem, Primarina, Excadrill, Moltres. The first thing that I thought was the first six are literally all threats.
Yeah.
This team is more offense and defense, but even I don't think it's bad because things like Mesprit, Weezing, Gigalith can actually just be pretty decent at supporting it. So I think it might just work perfectly. And I also thought that since Manectric doesn't always come, then after Kyurem, Cinderace is pretty much your fastest Mon, but it's not as bad since you have Rillaboom with priority and the Sand option with Excadrill. So yeah, I think this team is pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think as I considered more and more teams, it moved down my opinion a little bit, but it's very good. Cinderace and Rillaboom are insanely threatening. Kyurem is also insanely threatening. Excadrill is insanely threatening. It's a bunch of insanely threatening stuff, and I don't think it's suffering that much on defense for it. Mesprit does a lot of the defensive glue for the team, but Weezing, even variants of Kyurem can help out. So yeah, it's just a good, well done team. I think a lot of it comes down to properly executing on your opponent's weaknesses, certainly. But I think this is a really good team, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with definitely. I was gonna say that you can definitely use some of the like Primarina, or you can make a Bulkium Moltres. Gigalith can be a really good wall at times, so you shouldn't struggle too much with the defensive picks here.
Yeah, I feel like the defense is very much so checks to stall for time, but once this team has any sort of time, it can just run you over.
Yeah, it's going to be. I don't know what team has answers to all the attackers here. It seems few and far between, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, like it definitely has just the options to pretty much have a clear win con on any team, I feel like.
Yeah.
And Cinderace being like such a threat with setting up with stuff like Bulk Up and Libero. Moltres can, do its thing. Excadrill, everybody knows. Also, one thing that I want to point out is that your only removal is Excadrill.
Oh, really?
Which,
oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, it's not the best thing.
Oh, no. Sorry, I'm confused. Does Kyurem get defog? I don't think it does, but I just want to check.
No, it does not.
No, it
does
doesn't.
They gave defog to a bunch of stuff. I just have to check now and then. You can core change with Cinderace, but you're breaking even at best with that because they could just come back and do it again.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to run either Rapid Spin on Excadrill a lot of the times, or just run Boots on Cinderace or Kyurem.
There's going to be a lot of boots, is kind of the issue, yeah.
Yeah, also there's Moltres, so yeah. That's the only thing. But aside from that, the team, I'd say it's very, very good.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right, so we just finished with Sparky. Next up, we have
Mingu.
Seattle Feels.
Mingu.
Did you want to start, Noir?
Huh? So Mingu's team. I really like the offensive duo between Ashgren and Lopunny. Like I think it like hits everything or almost everything in the game. It has a lot of good defensive options like Weezinglar, Gligar, Arcanine, Jirachi. All are like really good. Like Arcanine is pretty much the only fire type switching, but it's good enough. Same thing for Rotomo. It's kind of the only water switching. Not as good as Arcanine for fire, but still decent. It has Greninja and Jirachi, Gligar for hazards removal. It has plenty with Masquerain, Gligar, Weezing, and yeah.
I think another thing is like this team covers immediate and setup pretty well with Nasty Plot on Gengar, Nasty Plot on Rotom, Calm Mind on Jirachi, but you can also just go like into Greninja and you start killing things. It's just really good offense. And I think the defense supports it, pivoting with Arcanine, pivoting with Gligar and Jirachi, and then you have maybe Toxic Spikes with Weezing.
Yeah.
Sure. I'd say like the main glaring weakness is there's no real like flying resist, and as we found out this week, the Dragapult matchup is really really hard.
Yeah, Ghost is also very tough considering your only switch-ins are the two main offensive mons, which you don't really want to be, taking hits of Greninja and Lopunny.
I wouldn't
Right.
say Jirachi's too bad as a flying resist. Certainly, at least for a team like
No,
this that's
true.
not focusing on.
I mean
mainly.
that's like that's the only flying resist though. Is what I would say.
It's carrying a lot of weight, but that's kind of how it always is with flying resists, oftentimes anyway. Unless somebody's going to troll
Yeah,
in
it's
like a rock type.
usually there's not many flying resist. Jirachi is pretty good. I'd say definitely Rotom-Mo, yeah, doesn't resist flying, but I think the Ghost weakness is more noticeable though than the flying. You
But,
pretty
like,
much have to make
definitely that
ballsy
is-
plays between Greninja and Lopunny if you really don't want to lose
Yeah.
mons, or maybe
But-
bring stuff like
That-
Spadef, Gligar,
That's
or
definitely-
Weezing.
That's like not to say that this isn't playable though, because like the offensive options are great, and like Jirachi, Rotom, Weezing, Gligar, Arcanine are all like really good defensive options, even if they don't necessarily resist Ghost, right?
Yeah. Also, Sticky Webs with Masquerade can be very strong. Like, considering you probably don't run like a Scarf on your Greninja Ash, and Lopunny with Sticky Webs.
Also-
Those two can go crazy.
Also, you have the strongest
And
mon in the
Gengar.
game, Behem.
Behem, yeah. I was gonna say that I really want Mingu to bring Behem, but he already beat me to it. Already brought Behem. Pretty good mod, honestly. Funny, but on paper, if you look at it, Behem's ability and the stats and its move pool, it's funny how good it is. It's like I think it's like the first time I remember seeing anyone use it.
It has some options, especially for like I think it's a 2-point pick.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you have anything to add, Frubblez or Sean?
No, I just think like you already said, like the low tiers like Masquerade and Behem put in work, and the high tiers put in even more work.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I had it a little higher. Like it's definitely a little weaker on the defensive side, but I think it's so strong offensively where that won't matter if he plays his cards right. And I think he could be set on that front at least.
Jirachi also like covers like the weaknesses really well here, because not only the flying type, it's not only like the only search into flying moves, but psychic too. Like I know you have Greninja, but you have two poison types and Mega Lopunny, and yeah, like there's Behem, but if you don't bring that, then Jirachi's also gonna be like just crucial for psychic and flying.
For sure.
There's also a lot of like decent amount of momentum on the team, like Volt Switch or Rotom. Like you have a lot of U-turners. Jirachi being more passive and like more aggressive with like Lopunny and Greninja. Yeah, this team.
It's nice that they both have U-turn as well, so you can kind of switch around your super threats.
Yeah. Also, like Arcanine, right? Teleport.
Teleport Arcanine is cheating. It's cheating.
Yeah. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, why'd they give it teleport in the same generation they gave it boots? It's not okay.
Yeah. And also
I don't know
Intimidate,
how that
Flash Fire,
works,
really good abilities.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Mingu
It's like a
can
unique
definitely.
defensive pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing like semi-comparable is Incineroar, but that doesn't get recovery.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, I think that's about it.
You guys want to move on?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second. Next up, we have Jode, the Ann Arbor Ampharos.
Now, the only way Joed got this high is because he bribed us, because he's the head of the league.
That's actually not true, because I was gonna say that this team was also one of the teams that gave us a hard time to like choosing the order. Like I think I originally had Joe at like 2.
Me too.
But we ended up
Yeah.
like it ended up falling here. But yeah, this team I really like this team a lot. It's like one of those teams that I knew it wouldn't be, the top team, but I thought it would be definitely top 5 or just at least close to top 5. Like it has excellent hazard setters. Like it has like spikes, toxic spikes, like rocks with like Clefable, Crocodile, like Bronzong, or the actual removal is okay. And I really don't see a noticeable weakness, which is actually very impressive. You have
Ice
a
is
lot of
a
mons
big
weak
one, but
to
you have
ice.
the best
Yeah,
ice
you have a
resist.
lot of mons weak to ice, but I feel like you have the resist to like make up for it. Like the Fables, even as a neutral, can take a lot of hits, and Bronzong is definitely gonna be very important here for that. Also have stuff like Magmortar. Lots of scarf options. Like Krugler can scarf like Urshifu, Diagonal. Yeah, and also a lot of momentum. So yeah, I think this team has like a little bit of everything.
I mean,
Someone
yeah,
else
I
wants to
originally
add?
had this team pretty low, but it was more about the strength of the competition. That there's really nothing much wrong with the team. I feel like Naganadel can be a little overrated sometimes, but it's still fantastic, right? It's still going to break down a lot of teams by itself. Clefable makes a good defensive backbone. There's still a lot. There's still a lot to like about this team, even though I think on the defensive side it's a little weaker. There's a lot of weight on Clefable. The other walls don't really have that level of recovery. But yeah, it's still good.
Okay, you said there's nothing that wrong with this team. It has 6 ice weaknesses. That's the major weakness.
Well, yeah,
it's
that's
not
the main
it's not
thing.
great, but at least Bronzong can cover those pretty
No,
well.
yeah, I just feel like Bronzong, Clefable, and Magmortar. Magmortar probably doesn't come all the time, but like Bronzong can switch him, I think, pretty freely into most ice types.
Well, sorry. What I think is also important to note is that like the ice resists also are the only fairy resist, so you could kind of just like hammer that in against the Bronzong and Magmortar and just wear them down since they don't have reliable recovery. That's the only real criticism I have for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think the offensive options are good enough to compensate. Plus, Clef can hold it together a lot, and Bronzong can hold it together a lot.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I want to see how Naganadel does in this team, because like I actually don't know much about it. I think I didn't play against it last season, and I've never used it actually. So I wouldn't really be confident in stating an opinion about like how strong it is, but I feel like it will be good in this team, to be honest.
To me, at least, I see Naganadel without Nasty Plot as a sort of like it's very similar to Astra Ninja would be in OU. It's got those strong like immediate damage. Every time it gets a KO, it gets stronger, or sometimes it gets faster, and it has spikes and toxic spikes to punish switches.
Yeah, also has like momentum and has like coverage, which is the most like important one for me, being like the fire coverage it gets, like just hitting steel types, which on paper like should be the best answer to Naga, but he like completely almost has no switch-ins.
Yeah, Dragon
Absolutely.
Poison is absolutely ridiculous. Like, even Dragalge, who doesn't really have much hit steal types, destroys stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't forget about. I'm gonna shout out to Joey for the classic low budget Electric type Mega that he always goes for. He chose Mega Manectric 2 seasons in a row, and now decided to go with Mega Ampharos. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, we've seen Mega Ampharos put in a little bit of work too, Noir.
Yeah, we've seen it. It's a mon that definitely cannot be underestimated. So yeah, hopefully it comes. We get to see some fun.
You guys want to move on?
Yeah. Top 5 time!
Next one, top
Boys,
5.
top 5. Let's see.
Oh no.
Next up for our top 5, leading off, we have Under the Radar with the Maryland Torterrapins.
Now, this team was pretty divisive among us four.
Yeah, I think this one I'm pretty confident saying that was the hardest team to rank. I think
Yeah.
because our opinions were all over the place.
Yeah, I think two of us had it super high and two of us had it a little lower.
Yeah. In fact, one person had this team when all of us made our individual rankings. One person had this team at number 1, and another had them at 16.
I had it at 16. I was convinced this isn't the worst team, but I still don't think it's amazing. But other people, you talk first.
So yeah, that was definitely one of the funniest moments that happened while making the PRs. But yeah, I'm just gonna start by saying that Mega Gallade, Spectre, and Lele is very powerful trio of Pokemon there. Like I think they just very fast. Lele, being able to run Scarf pretty well. Very fast and immediate offense. Together they can pretty much hit everything. So like you can bring those
Melmetal.
3. Huh?
Melmetal's really good at immediate offense.
Yeah, true that. You have that too. As for bulk, you have Vaporeon, which is so important in this team, joining up Melmetal to cover that ice weakness from Gliscor, also giving the team longevity with like Wish and stuff. Melmetal, it's like one of the best bulky offense mons. The one thing that I would say about this team is the low tier picks. I think they're not that good. Like I don't see Blossom, Greta, and Absol coming. And also, Gliscor has to put in so much work as a utility mod in this team, being the only hazard setter and the only defogger. I feel like if there were more options, that might have affected everyone's ranking of this team. It might have been higher. So yeah.
Yeah, I like this team. I think it's one of those teams where the defense are definitely lacking, but it's so offensive where it's almost really just worth it because you've got Melmetal, Spectrier, Tapu Lele all being kind of insane for offense. But even then, the defense isn't terrible. Like they pour in a Gliscor, by no means complete defensive core. That'll cover a lot of stuff for you without much effort, which I like.
And I'll say, I really like the Dragalge pick and the Vikavolt pick. Dragalge has a very unique typing. We kind of talked about it with Meganadel. How, if you can get Dragalge in with adaptability, you can just do a ton of damage. Plus, you have the Toxic Spikes option, the Webs option, if you want to go that route.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you can go.
Last season, I won multiple games alone by just setting up Toxic Spikes and being able to pivot out. I think Dragalge might be one of, if not the best Toxic Spikers besides maybe Toxapex.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I, despite only having one removal, I think that it's not that big of an issue because toxic spikes from Dragalgi and like sticky guys from Vikavolt just do so much work that your opponent might just end up, clearing the hazards for you. And also the fact that you can run webs to be able to not have to run Scarf with stuff like Spectre and Lele in order to do more damage makes this team like very dangerous.
Good for the next one?
Yeah, we can.
Sure.
All right. Next up, we have number 4. That'd be P. McGee with a Pota Pukamukus. Not Mimikyu.
Where is Pikamuku?
Where's the Pukamuku? Is what I'm asking.
Where's the Pikamuku?
He actually drafted it and then dropped it in Grace like a coward.
Yeah, kind of disappointed in
Disrespectful.
dropping Larry. But nah, I'm just joking. He's his team's like actually one of my favorites, and I think even up to Shelmet, like every mod is usable. I think we already saw Kangaskhan putting in work in the first week. Definitely Dragapult Mega Medicham, very hard to switch into. And you also have Mamoswine and Zarude, which it's actually incredible that they're not the first ones that stand out because you also have it's a Dragapult team. The main weakness of this team, I think it's so lacking in Spadef. I thought about that you probably had to run Spadef like Kangaskhan or something to handle. Yeah, so yeah, and it ended up coming. Like I think I already saw him use Spadef Kangaskhan, which Kangaskhan is not bad, but usually you see high tier picks that can do that job.
I would say like also just Dragapult. It is the best mon in draft for a reason. It just it's glue. It does all the things, and even like you said, the low tier mons still do things. Kangaskhan is one of the best low tier dons, and Shelmet counters Urshifu, which is the funniest thing to me.
Yeah. I was gonna say like some weaknesses I noticed when prepping. The hazard setting wasn't that great, especially on the rock side with like Mamo the only rocker, and a lot of times you just don't want to run rocks on Mamo. And then Shelmet being the only spike setter. But your removal options are great, and that's probably more important. And you can run out like Corv and Rotom like as utility mons a lot.
Yeah, exactly. At first, I was like, "Oh, it only has like 2 removal options," but honestly, those 2 are like probably some of the best removal options you can get.
Right.
And Rotom Wash and Corv just pair up with each other so well. Like it's such a good defensive combination. Yeah, maybe like one thing I probably would have changed if it was me. I would have probably like thought about maybe going for something more bulky rather than Salazzle, maybe. Because I don't know.
I think a big. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just that the split def is just like defenses are that you have Corv and Rotom Wash, but I feel like most games will just come down to having the sack. So like Dragapult can get the kills in the end, or like Medicham or like Mamo. It's definitely a very fast offensive like playstyle. Like you probably just take a hit from Rotom Wash, Volt Switch into your super strong breaker, get a kill, then like sack something or go into Corv, get that U-turn, and then get Mamo in, click that Icicle Crash. Yeah, definitely like a very fun play style, honestly.
Yeah, I would say the big thing is it doesn't have rock resist. Mega Medicham is not a rock resist. So if someone can hit their stone edges, this team will have trouble.
For sure.
Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah.
To number 3.
All right, numero trace. 1 second. Let's see. Next up, we have Wheatku from the Alberta Surge.
Huiku. So Huiku, I would say, they draft really good teams. I saw his team from last season in Johto, which ended up winning. It was a very good team. I think it was like ranked like top 1 or top 2.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that though.
Yeah, BigRedBlue was in finals. So he drafted another incredible team, I'd say, for Kanto, and this team, all hazard setters tend to be offensive mons. That's like one thing that I noticed. Like, Terrakion and Landorus. Latias is the fastest mon, which is like not great, but it's also not bad. And the speed tiers are ordered pretty nicely. Like, speed tiers are actually not bad. And yeah, the thing that I like the most about this team is just that it's so balanced. Like, I like how the bulky offense like pairs up with the like immediate offense options. Like, you have like Scissor and Latios, which are mons that can be defensive but can also set up. And you also have stuff like Landers and Terrakion in the back, which can just blow teams immediately and establish like immediate pressure. Also has excellent like defensive options with like Milo and Porygon. Honestly, just phasing Milo and Porygon it gives me a headache. And both of them can pivot out with like Flip Turn Teleport to go into like any of the threats. So
I gotta say, Landorus Terrakion might be my favorite offensive core this season. Just those two Pokemon together cover so much. One's special, one's physical, and they just shred most defenses. The only thing I could complain about is like they can be outsped. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, this team is definitely like the speed tier is like 110 isn't like amazing to have as your top, but it definitely makes up for it in spades with the bulk. Yeah, we also mentioned that like the hazards are a little lacking, but this team's going to be so hard to break. Plus the offensive threat of Tarak, Landorus, plus the setup Mega Scissor or setup Latias is enough to compensate for any deficiencies that way.
Yeah, and on the speed front, it's like you've got Comfy and Mega Scissor, so that's some priority for you to use.
Yeah, that too. Also, there's a pretty decent amount of options for removal. Like Scissor, Latias, Comfey are pretty nice.
For sure.
But yeah, very very balanced team. I actually one of my favorites. I looked at it and I knew that I was gonna be at least top 3, top 2.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to complain, Huntail is bad. That's kind of the team's a little slow, and also Huntail is bad. That's about all I can say.
I mean, I've never seen Huntail.
If I recall correctly, they have unspent points too. They have like 2 extra points, so you'd probably upgrade Huntail to something better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, they have 2 extra points. I guess it might be worth, but who knows? I've never seen Huntail in action.
I mean, it's not bad. It and Gorbis aren't bad, but it's just like the most budget shell smasher you could imagine, kind of. It's just
yeah.
They have attacks. They're not terrible. Huntail maybe is a little better in situations because it has Sucker Punch at least, so that's something you can pull out of your tail. And it's got Water Veil, which prevents you being burned, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's just.
Probably never comes, but if he does, if Wiku brings Huntail, that's gonna be interesting.
I would happily eat my words.
I hope he brings it. I hope he brings it.
I will eat my words. Okay. Are we good on this?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Next up, we
Now,
have top 2. Cool. We have Coltrane's with the Portland Developers.
I feel like the bottom of the list and the top of the list were very, very easy for us to have a consensus on, and this is definitely one of those teams. Like, I would have to say, just like, first of all, its defensive backbone is ridiculous. Mega Aggro and Florges. How do you break that? And then you have support.
Plus 20 and Lando.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you have support from Torrenti, Landorus, who have great hazard remove. I want to say some of the best hazard.
No, yeah, that it has like a billion options. Probably the best.
And yet somehow it doesn't even sacrifice offense, really. Like,
Yeah.
Again, Landorus and Torrenti are like the premier offense and defensive Pokemon, along with Latios. And then I can't even find much to complain about here. This is just a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw like Coltrane's like draft Landers after Tornadoes, I was like, oh, that's funny. But then like I was actually shocked by how like good the draft ended up being. Like Frubblez said, Florges Aggron is just so hard to break. Like I've seen my fair share of 200 turn games ending up in like 6-0 and shit just because of Florges Mega Aggron. And one thing that's very impressive about the defensive backbone of this team is that all of the offensive mons are weak to ice, but every defensive mon resists ice. So it's like perfect backbone for a team. Like Tornadoes, Landorus, Latios, and Superior all weak to ice, but then you have like Aggron. And Florges doesn't resist ice, but it's like one of the best, special walls you can get. Like Incineroar, like Tentacruel, Klefki. As the best hazard removal. Every mon has hazard removal except 2. That's like insane.
And there's a lot of good hazard options as well. You can set up rocks pretty easily with Lando or Mega Aggron. Spikes is good on Klefki if you want to bring it. And in some matchups, you might want to bring Toxic Spikes with Tentacruel.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of options.
I feel like this ticks off every box. Does it have momentum? Yeah. Hazards? Yeah. Removal? Yeah. Does it have immediate power? Yeah. Does it have setup? Yes. It checks every single box.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
One thing though, I think Landorus definitely has to put in a lot of work as this team's on like main physical attacker, because this team might have trouble breaking like Spadef, like monsters that are like very Spadef bulky, since you have like Latios, Tornadoes, and like stuff like Superior. Of course, Aggron is also a threat on the physical attack side, but sometimes it tends to be a more passive mon. So I think having that like offensive Landorus, which can hit hard, either like setting up a Source Dance or like pivot out, is gonna be really important.
He's certainly got to make a choice for the Rockers of whether it's going to be Mega Aggron or Landorus. So that is one thing, but I mean that's fine. He's got a lot of flexibility otherwise, so that's one slight department where he's a little more limited. But like we said, everything else he's got a lot of options for what he can do.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's it for number 2. Should we move on to the last one?
Yep, last and by definition not least, we have Geo, the Columbus Gallade.
Geo. So I'm gonna start by saying something very interesting. Geo was the last pick of the draft, and that is actually amazing, like very impressive that he made the number 1 spot being the last pick, considering no 20 pointers, no 19 pointers, which everyone wants to get their hands on.
Let things fall sometimes. Like the power of the wheel is that like if people do make that mistake, you are in one of the best positions because you can just grab crazy stuff. Like I've been in drafts where like Tapu Koko makes it down to like 15 or something crazy like that. I mean, I guess that's what happened here, but like, and you could just get it, and it's like cool, awesome.
I mean, it's also like gonna happen since like you're gonna have good options since since Npba adds a lot of unbans this season, probably the most unbans we've had. So that makes it so other mons that usually tend to be the first picks like just fall down because Garchomp, Tapu Koko are first picks on other leagues.
And like even then,
you really can't complain about starting your draft with Koko Garchomp, even if you're just 16th pick.
I mean, Garchomp is, if not Landorus third, Garchomp is the definition of versatile ground type that does what you want it to. and then just Coco, and I think also Keldeo helps like define this offensive core of it can. First of all, it can do what they do specially, but they can also be versatile. Keldeo and Coco can pivot, and then they can also do Calm Mind stuff, and then Garchomp can do bulky Rocky Helmet stuff, and it's just versatility that I really like from this.
Yeah, you never go wrong with Garchomp. So this team definitely, I saw it and I I knew it was number one. Like I actually knew it was number one. It has, first of all, it has more than enough options for hazards. It has a lot like Uxie, Skarmory, Garchomp, Colossal. It has good removal, 2 spinners and 2 defoggers, which are good mons like Skarmory, Coco can sometimes run it, but it's mostly Skarmory, and you have the spin with like Colossal and Komola, which is not bad. The speed tiers are wonderful. I really don't see any noticeable weaknesses. It has like great support and bulky offense.
Yeah, if I were to nitpick the speed tiers, Keldeo Weavile is a little much, but that's a real big nitpick there. Like this is really good speed tiers.
Yeah.
Favorite. I feel like
Go
my only actual criticism is that the fire water grass core has a bit of a weak fire. That's kind of it. Like Colossal is a nice low point mon, but I feel like it doesn't really fill the role that a fire type always needs to.
Well, yeah, but you also have like Garchomp and
Yes, exactly. So
also like having Fake Fat on Megavino is like so good.
yeah, you have other things that cover up what a fire would do. So honestly,
Yeah.
like again, this is amazing.
Yeah, just seeing like Garchomp, Coco, Kelly, and Weavile on one team is so scary. Like prepping for this team, it's definitely gonna have a tough time. And one of my favorite things about this team is the fact that Garchomp, Coco, and Keldeo all kind of struggle with bulky grass types, but Weavile and Mega Venusaur like are really good against those said grass types. So it's like I don't really see any way you could stop this team, to be honest. Like it just the offense complements each other so well. And another fun fact, um, Geo hit 17 out of 18 types, only missing Ghost type, which is also really cool to know.
I got to say, I really like the low tiers here. Like, I think Komala has some really solid utility, being like a normal type, getting all the coverage, and it has a spin. I think Colossal covers, again, hazards and spin, and it does rock type stuff well. Uxie, just a fat fuck, just wall stick. And I wanted Pinsir's pretty good, and I think people are going to sleep on Pinsir.
Yeah, this
No,
team
definitely.
is
Pinsir's like I like a lot of the low tier bug because bug is a very unique typing when it's like pure bug because you resist fighting and you resist ground, and that can help in a lot of matchups.
yeah. So yeah, this team is definitely one of my favorites. Honestly, it has everything. It's a beautiful team, but yeah, that will be the end of the PRs. Gotta say, we all think that almost every team is really good. To
Pretty
be
much.
honest,
Yeah.
I'm
A lot of good
actually
teams.
actually amazed by all the teams because I thought I would sit down and be like, oh, like I would select like a few teams that would definitely be at the bottom, but I actually had to like sit down and analyze like every team to like think, damn, that I'm gonna have to like move these teams which I thought would be higher to like down here.
Gosh.
So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the
Yeah.
PRs. It was I think first time doing PRs for maybe all of us or most of us.
Yeah. I had a lot of.
Yeah.
Mm.
See y'all later in PBA. Maybe I come back for some PRs next season or something. But yeah.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye. Good luck in your games. Don't lose.
Thanks a
Win
lot.
them
Don't
all.
lose, don't
Win
lose.
every game.
Wasn't
Even if you're
it?
not playing, win every game. Set up games for yourself. Set up win conditions. That I don't know. Bet on people. You can work it out.